We're taking an early look at the new mech on the test server called Tailsting. It's called Tailsting. Why is the Scorpion mech not called Scorpius? I don't know. But my initial impressions were that, wow, this thing is going to be extremely strong. Looking at the ability just right off the bat, you can see something that majorly stands out. Not only does it lock people in place essentially by keeping them from being able to fire and use their ability and even turn their mech. So to some extent, it's something like an EMP, but it also grants you 80% shield pierce along with a 30% bonus damage. Sounds a lot like Orion, doesn't it? And so that's what I thought. Well, obviously, this is going to be a legendary version of Orion, essentially, and it's going to one-shot all kinds of stuff because 80% shield pierce is actually insane. But that initial assumption is actually less true than I thought it was, and we'll get into a comparison specifically with Orion a little bit later. But for now, I want to also mention the new weapon that we're also going to be taking a look at called Versa, which is a very interesting heavy-duty weapon that has essentially machine gun mode and sniper mode. The sniper mode clearly gets out damage a lot quicker because it fires like 20 of the bullets all at once, but each of the bullets deals less damage, so technically the best way to maximize your DPS is by firing it in machine gun mode. Now, in terms of raw stats, Tailsting is nothing crazy. The HP is fairly low, the speed is mid, and the energy capacity is maximum of 24, so it is a medium mech. However, as you may imagine, the ability is really what sells it in a certain way. You fire this projectile that can hit multiple enemies, not only with just the fact that it has a radius, but also it almost has like sort of a path radius as well, similar to Disruptor. The B-roll footage for this video is going to be Hangar Showdown gameplay on the test server because that's the only way that I was able to get the bots to actually use mod shields. I don't know what was going on, but the bots weren't using mod shields in any of the other modes. Now, I'll go into a couple of the other details on both the mech and the weapon, some interesting things that I found in my general opinion on both of them. Real quick, though, let's get into the actual test portion of this. This is going to be a side-by-side comparison, starting off with, of course, the nerfed Burrow Beam. Okay, so now that the test is over, you can clearly see, uh, it's actually not as crazy as it sounds. 80% sounds insane. You also get 30% damage boost. It sounds absolutely crazy, but in most cases, it didn't perform a whole lot better than just with no abilities whatsoever. I think at the end of the day, most weapons don't actually care that much if you have an ability like this. That's not to say that the mech is going to be bad. I do not think that the mech is going to be bad. But there also aren't any modifiers active on the test server. When this mech comes out in like less than 24 hours, the mech might also release with some seasonal modifiers that last a little while that could make the cooldown shorter, the duration longer, the mech faster, have more HP, stuff like that, potentially, which could seriously impact its performance. And of course, my thoughts on the Versa weapon as well. I think it's okay. I think you're mostly going to use it as a sniper, probably, right? The damages compared to Railgun is actually very similar if you don't count the double damage chance. If you do count the double damage chance, then Railgun has about 30% extra damage per shot on average, but it has 3 shots, whereas Versa has 5. So I found that to be fairly interesting, along with the fact that there is no legendary reload or recoil implant for Versas. The only legendary implant is the damage, and I'm not really sure why that's the case, but it is. The final thing about the weapon is that sometimes you can't reload or fire, which seems like a big deal, because it is. Yeah, and these are clearly bugs that are on the test server, and there's other things going on. For as buggy as the live server is, the test server is worse, okay? But I will warn you now, maybe don't buy the new weapon until you know that it works, because it kind of is very inconsistent on the test server. After firing it a few times, sometimes it just won't let you fire it again. A lot of the times it won't let you manually reload. You have to completely use up all of the ammo and just force it to reload. The visual in terms of the reloading, like from other people's perspective, the reload is completely out of sync. So like 3 seconds after I'm done reloading, it still looks like I'm reloading from someone else's perspective. So that's just really weird, and it's full of bugs, and it's honestly to be expected at this point. I'm not even surprised. But essentially, yes, you've been warned. In terms of implants for Tailsting, there is no implant to increase the amount of bonus damage that you deal. There is no implant to increase the amount of shield piercing. There is no radius implant, and there is no range implant. Those are all implants that I think would be the most impactful. But no, all it gets is just cooldown, duration, and damage. In this case, I think duration would be the best one to go for, along with obviously cooldown. But suffice it to say, there are no real defining implants for this mech. As always, when this mech does come out, I will try it live. About 24 hours from now, I should be live, and I'll be testing out the mech and the weapons in various different scenarios on the live server, right? So with all applicable modifiers that might be going on against real players, ideally at max level. But just to kind of conclude the video, I would say my impressions thus far, again, just from test server, whatever I've been able to do on test server, it strikes me as very effective in like a 1v1 situation, right? Sort of like Hemlock. It's very, very good 1v1 mech, clearly. So Hangar Showdown, that'll do very well. In other modes, like 5v5 or Control Point Clash, or even Free-for-all, I wouldn't necessarily expect it to do that well. Not to say that the ability is useless, but just to say that there are better abilities that you could be using. Let me know what you guys think about both of these new things in the comments. Let it also be known that this is the giveaway video for the month of June. I completely forgot to add it to the other video that I made earlier. Super easy to enter. All you have to do is put your ID in the comments with the keyword ID colon, so it should just look something like this, and that is it. You are automatically entered. And so we'll see. Maybe my opinion changes by the end of tomorrow, but as of now, that is my prediction.